Gentlemen, happy Friday. It is Friday, June 2nd already. What happened in the month of May? I don't know. Welcome to Student Loan Justice. We are the oldest, largest, first, and only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. That means two things. The first thing that's probably on most people's minds these days is student loan cancellation by executive order. That concept, believe it or not, started on this group. We did the first interview in the media about whether the president actually had the power to cancel student loans by executive order or not. Hint, he does. And our petition that we started in March 2020, which has now grown to 1.2 million signatures, was the thing that really pushed the idea into the public conversation. So you would think that I would be thrilled here talking to you today, now that we have a sitting president having announced a student loan cancellation by executive order. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we're not thrilled at all with Biden's student loan cancellation. It is, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the second, and believe it or not, the far more important, in fact, the most important thing that we're fighting for is the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. We've been doing this for 18 years, ladies and gentlemen, and I can tell you that as long as we don't have the constitutionally enshrined right, the leverage of bankruptcy rights returned to these loans, we're going to be begging Joe Biden or the next president forever to do good things for student loan borrowers. And what we'll get is basically like what we've already seen, which are these feckless, sort of lame, tame, sort of designed to fail loan cancellation gimmicks. And that's really all that we can expect. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws, aka rights, in the Constitution. And they did that for a very good reason. And we can see by this unique violation of their wisdom with student loans exactly why having the leverage of bankruptcy is so important. So a couple of announcements. We have three, we're in the media quite often. You may have seen us on 60 Minutes, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all these things, Peacock, MSNBC, Fox News. We currently have 3 interview requests throughout the country. If you happen to live in Arizona, if you happen to live in the Washington, D.C. area, so Maryland is good too. If you happen to live in Georgia, and you are willing to be interviewed about your student loans, let me know. Send me an email, Alan, ALAN, at studentloanjustice.org, and tell me more about your loan situation. Be sure to include where you are so I know where to forward it to. But this is important. This is part of the battle, guys. This is an info war that we're in. And right now, our opposition controls 95, if not more, % of the media. So the truth is important, and your story is important, and it needs to be told, because the mainstream media and thus the general public has no idea about how terrible these loans are, and they will never know unless we get out and tell the truth. So second announcement, I'm sorry to have to lead with this, but we need donations right now, ladies and gentlemen. We survive and thrive only 100% on relatively meager donations from normal people, personal gifts. So this week we need to still raise around $500, which is a lot by our standards. So we're hoping that we can get 25 people to donate $20 or more. Or no, actually, yeah, I think that's right. Just please donate, guys, so I can shut up about it. You can see the link right there. This group is way more important than we may appear, and it would be a real shame if we ceased to exist because we can't pay stuff like our utility bill and stuff. So thank you for that. Tonight, I want to talk about what you can do in your local area. And we have a very special guest on coming on in just a second. Let me just tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Jackie. She lives in Texas. Texas is a very important state. $141 billion hanging around the necks of people in Texas in mostly federal student loan debt. So what we've been doing for roughly the past 6 months or so, since the beginning of this year, we're asking everyone to get letters to the editor published in their local newspapers. We're also asking everyone to get us into a meeting with both of your senators and your member of Congress. Those are two things that everybody and anyone with student loans really should be doing. We're calling for two things, as I said. Number one is bankruptcy. That's the first thing, the most important thing. And the second thing, obviously, being student loan cancellation. But we're not going to get that second thing without the first thing, guys. And so I am just thrilled to report that some of our members have really taken the bull by the horns, and chief among them is Jackie in Texas. I want to say she's gotten somewhere between 15 and 20 letters to the editor published in newspapers across the state of Texas. And that is just so huge for us. She's also gotten us into a number of very critical meetings with key members of Congress whose names at this point shall remain nameless. I think we like to keep those sorts of details to ourselves just because the opposition is out there and they suck. So let me just bring Jackie on here and let's get to it. Hey, Jackie, how you doing?
Hi, how are y'all?
How's Texas treating you tonight?
It's pretty hot. Weather-wise.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it's pretty hot up here in Wisconsin, but probably not nearly as hot as in Texas. So welcome. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate it. You know, I was telling everyone how you have been essentially a force of nature on Twitter, on the internet, but more, I think maybe even more, most importantly, in getting us into meetings with congressmen and women down in Texas. And also the fact that you've gotten so many letters to the editor published in, I don't know how many dozens, I think, of both local and even national publications across the country. So, I mean, let's start with all the letters to the editor. Was it hard to get those published, or what did you find?
No, you just get your letter all set up the way that you want it. And then what I would do is I would send it out to about 4 or 5 newspapers. And then I would change up the letter and I would send it out to about 4 or 5 other papers. And I would just I would just do a news search in my phone or whatever. And I would look for local newspapers and I just Googled them. And then I would go to the opinions and then the letters to the editor. And then I would just send it in and hope for the best. And then I would just keep checking back. And then sure enough, I got several on. And then I got my mom, which has student loans that she's never going to pay for because obviously she's going to outlive the loans. I have a daughter that has started college, but we don't get any student loans. But she put some letters to the editors out as well. And so I got everyone involved and we just kept pushing them out there and pushing them. And I've got one paper that puts a letter out about every 30 days. It's just one of my local papers here. And so there are people that are in our same situation and that believe how we believe. If you just speak up, and it gives, courage to others to speak up as well. So it's not hard to do at all. It's really something that should be happening like daily for everyone in the group.
I just love that you made it a family affair. I just think that is so cool. And
we stick together around here.
That's right. And just for our audience, so that you know, it's not like we're a few ne'er-do-wells, like every town's got a couple. It's not like that. Like literally 1 in 5 of all U.S. adults has student loans. And 85% of those people were never going to be able to repay their loans even before the pandemic. So we are everywhere. And, I admire your courage, if nothing else, Jackie, just because you get out there and you say what it is. And I mean, you've been really fighting this hard for, I think, almost a year now, from what I could tell. Have you had any negative blowback? Have you had any, people coming up to you at work saying negative things, or has anything bad happened to you?
No, nothing bad. And it just rubs me wrong how the government thinks they can just do anything they want to people. And so that's how I got involved. My loans are gonna get, well, sure enough, they would get, waived off in the PSLF because I'm an educator. But it's just ridiculous that, I mean, it's just crazy the whole way the whole world works, and how they think that they can just do anything with these loans, take away rights, and it's just nonsense. So I just choose to fight for the underdogs or whatever, because all the rich just think they can overrun the people that are struggling or the people that are working their tails off.
Yeah, you're damn straight. The rich and the well-connected, the people who think they can run the world through a computer back in Washington, D.C. or Wall Street. And it takes people on the ground. It takes you sitting there, out there. And I don't mean you, Jackie, but everybody out there. We've got 1.2 million people in our group right now. And on any given day, I literally only see a few hundred people doing anything. And so people need to understand that these are your loans, and this is your livelihood that's on the chopping block right now. And I will maybe I'd also like to ask you a little bit. You've gotten several key meetings together with various, I will not name them, members of Congress in Texas. How did you find that whole process? How'd that work out?
Some of them you have to be more persistent. It's not hard. It's just that if they could just put you on the waiting block and leave you there, then they will. I always set a reminder on my phone so that I would know to go back and re-email those people, or to say, hey, did you get me a meeting set up, or what's going on with such and such and such and such, because they always the excuse judiciary hearings and all this, that, and the other. But I just never did give up, because I to talk to him or her. As the meeting that I had,
Jackie, you're really breaking up here. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Jackie. I had to cut you off. Damn. We were a little worried that was going to happen tonight. I'm going to make this a to be continued, because Jackie's got a lot more to say. And, she's been a real inspiration, not only to the people in our group, but to me personally. And I just think that you all need to hear from her more, so that you can understand that she's exactly what this movement needs. And I can't speak for her, but I will just tell you that she's just, hopefully you can tell, just a normal person with her own struggles, her own travails. But she found the courage to fight for what is right. And what is right are the two things we're fighting for. The founding fathers themselves, John Adams, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Robert Morris, many others, they were being skewered under debt to British banks and merchants. John Adams famously said, there are two ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword, the other is by debt. And we are living through that today. And it's going to take patriots, fighters like Jackie, and like thousands of other people in our group. We've got a lot of diehard veterans out there. And speaking of the rest of our group, I'm going to look for your questions and comments now, if I can see them on. And by the way, thank you, Jackie, if you're able to see this. I'm sorry I had to cut you off. We'll see if we can maybe get a better bandwidth sometime next week and reschedule you for so we can do part 2 of this very important interview. But I'm looking for your questions and comments right now. If you're watching us on Twitter and or Facebook, I'll be very glad to read them aloud if I can see them. It's not always a guarantee. But yeah, guys, there's a lot going on right now. If you can't tell, student loan cancellation is near the top of the news these days. The Republicans are idiots. Like, the loans were going to be turned back on anyways. So the current news cycle is frankly just a distraction. I hope you're not distracted. The Democrats, that is Joe Biden, were going to be turning these loans back on September 1st anyways, at least according to their latest press releases. And so all that really has been accomplished through this most recent budget debt ceiling negotiation is that the Republicans have, and by the way, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group. We can't stand either party, quite frankly. We have no fealty to either party. But this most recent thing really only succeeded in giving the Republicans the lion's share of the credit for getting these loans turned back on. That is absolutely stupid. Fully half, probably more than half of all student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. And 85% of them were never going to be able to repay their loans, even before COVID. So student loan borrowers are indeed the Republican base. So why are the Republicans so stupid? I can't figure it out. I think there's a lot of money going on behind the scenes here. I think a lot of people, particularly more in the Republican, on the Republican side than the Democratic side, are making a ton of money off of this thing. But guys, equal time, equal measure. Even the Democrats, very silently and quietly, have betrayed us. It's true. They have. We had a great bankruptcy bill last session in the Senate. The Democrats had everything they needed to pass this bill. It was critical to everything. And at the last minute, the Democrats betrayed us. So I know if you're watching TV and reading the media, it's like this good cop, bad cop thing, this white hat, black hat thing. Like the Democrats are good, the Republicans are bad. Don't believe the nonsense, guys. Both parties are against us. It's a uniparty thing. So, I would just beg you not to be distracted by almost anything you read in the mainstream media. And I'm sorry to have to say that, because historically the media has been our great friend. We've been on pretty much every news program you can point to, from Fox News to Democracy Now! With Amy, Amy. And everything in between, guys. We work with the media frequently. We've had some, we have had, and surely will have successes in the mainstream media. But 95% of the mainstream media is terrible, ladies and gentlemen. It's almost like some big AI program that's trying to artificially construct the debate and force it into these nonsensical partisan pigeonholes. It's nonsense, guys. This is not a partisan issue. Student loans are not a culture war issue. Fully half or more of the members on our group are either Republican or independent. I kid you not. So just don't trip on all that stuff, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah. I'm looking for your comments now. I may not be able to get to all of them. Let me apologize in advance. Rob Mueller is with us here tonight. Hey, Rob, how are you? Lisa Ansel is with us tonight from California, I believe. Lisa, how are you? Gordon Wayne Watts is with us tonight, our fearless Texas, our fearless Lakeland, Florida guy. Sorry, not Texas. So Lisa says, Joe Biden will be remembered for presiding over the largest student loan mass default and economic disaster of all time. All sectors of the economy will crash. Nobody will have money for good, travel, restaurants, movies, etc. This will come back to bite all of them in 2024. Obviously, we are a huge force in the economy. There is no doubt. And I totally agree that if everyone was somehow forced to repay their student loans, the inflation that we're living under has sucked $500 a month out of everybody's monthly budget. The student loan repayment pause only added, on average, $400 to the average household's monthly budget. So even before this pandemic, 85% of everyone was underwater on their student loans. But most importantly, 60% of all borrowers had stopped making payments on their loans. So I agree that if everybody was forced to repay their loans, it would have a significant, very measurable negative impact on the economy. Everything that you said, Lisa, to that, maybe I would add evictions. I think it would have a noticeable effect on home sales, on business formation, many other areas of the economy. It's idiotic. However, there's another side to that coin, which kind of is baked into what I said earlier, and that is that before the pandemic, 60%, like nearly 2/3 of all borrowers, had stopped paying on their loans. So as far as the reality of what's going to happen when they turn these loans back on, first of all, you're absolutely correct, Lisa. We are going to see a mass default. We are going to. And, I just don't see more than about 20% of the borrowers actually resuming paying on their student loans. So all the negative effects to the economy, I think, are probably as a practical matter overblown. But when you have all of a sudden 10, 15, 20 plus million people who don't resume paying on their loans and wind up in default on their loans, that can be a effing bloodbath. And this, you bring up the most poignant, I think, the thing that everybody should be thinking about right now, all student loan borrowers. When they turn these loans back on, very few people will pay. There will be a mass default. And ladies and gentlemen, as long as the constitutionally enshrined leverage of bankruptcy remains gone from us, this could get very, very, very ugly. The debt collection industry is a very real thing. Student loan debt collection industry are drooling, they are seething, they are praying to get these loans turned back on in the continued absence of bankruptcy rights. That gives these loan sharks, these parasites, these predators, a license to steal. And, what I tell everybody is bulletproof yourself. Like, in my humble opinion, nobody should ever pay another dollar into this poisonous, cancerous debt scam, this loan scam, this student loan scam. Paying money into this beast only makes it stronger. And in my humble opinion, nobody should ever pay another dollar on their federal student loans, certainly. And quite frankly, if you ever do pay another dollar on your federal student loans, in my humble opinion, that's not only probably unwise, it's not good for you, it's unpatriotic. Don't feed the beast. However, dudes, because of what I just said, we need to, first of all, I tell everyone, bulletproof yourself. That means different things for different people. You might want to become a 990 contractor rather than a paid employee. You may want to talk to your employers and make them understand that they don't have to automatically agree to a wage garnishment. There's a million different ways that people can be bulletproofing themselves right now. And I would urge all of you to do that. But more than that, you have to help us fight and fight hard to make sure that at a minimum, we get the leverage of bankruptcy returned to us, hopefully before September 1st, because this thing could get very, very ugly, ladies and gentlemen. The student debt collection industry haven't really been paid much at all for the past 3 years, and they are hungry, and they are sharpening their knives. And their fantasy of getting the loans turned back on with bankruptcy remaining gone is about to come true. This all comes down to bankruptcy, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you would ever or never file is not important. So I think my battery may be about to die, guys. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to get to all of your comments, but maybe that's a very good point to leave it off on. No matter what you want to see happen with your student loans, we've got to fight for bankruptcy. We had a great bill last session. It would have passed easily if more of us, meaning you, if more of the people on this group had been fighting for it. Anyone can go and do our daily actions. That is the very least that you would do. And let me tell you guys, when we get the leverage of bankruptcy back, the president, whether it's this president or the next, hopefully this president, the president is going to have to cancel student loans very broadly, very deeply, very meaningfully, far more than any of this nonsense that we're looking at right now. Whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy is not important. Very few people will even have to file. But it's just the most important thing. The other groups that I see in this space that are supposedly fighting for students, they are suspiciously, let me just say, suspiciously silent on the bankruptcy issue. I think there's probably a good reason for that, and it's not a very good reason at all. It's a disgusting, terrible reason. But I'm not going to speak for those groups. I'm not even going to worry about those groups because those groups are out to lunch, and shame on them. But I'll let them defend themselves. I certainly can't and won't defend them. What I will tell you is that if you care about solving this problem, it all begins with getting the leverage of bankruptcy rights returned. We've been doing this for 18 years, ladies and gentlemen, and I can tell you, if bankruptcy rights had been returned to these loans 17 years ago, we would not be here today. This problem would be solved. Student loans would not be a problem in this country. So that's even more true today. I hope that's sinking in with you. Go to our Medium channel if you don't understand that. Read our most recent, 5 or 10 articles that we've written. We published all of our research there, very strong, very solid research, easily vetted, easily confirmed. If you read the most recent 5 or 10 of our articles, you will become a very well-educated, fine, fit, and fierce student loan justice warrior. Like Jackie in Texas, and like Lisa, and like Gordon, and everybody else I see here on the live stream tonight. This problem isn't going to solve itself. We cannot fight your battle for you. You've got to step up to the plate. This is a working fighting group. We're not going to kiss your ass. We're not going to beg you. We need you in this fight, and it feels good to fight this fight. Founding fathers are on our side. 43 million people in the country, 38 million of whom are losing sleep over their student loans, would be on our side if they knew about us. And when you tell them about us, they will know about us. But beyond that, I would just say it's a fight very easily and quickly won, but only when you help. You have no idea how important you are. So go to our website, join your state chapter, do our daily actions, and get into this battle. Jump in. The water is fine. And with that, I will bid everyone adieu. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Sunday. We'll bring Jackie back on soon, and she can finish telling some war stories to us. And I look forward to that. Have a great weekend. Good luck. God bless, and Godspeed, everyone.